Imagine if you never had to lift a finger to plan a trip again. What if your perfect travel agent was right in your path and cost you nothing? I built an AI travel agent that does literally everything. It finds flights, book hotels, plans activities, all tailored to my budget and vibe. I just tell it when and bam, it's all done. Today, I'm not only going to show you how it works, I'm sharing the entire code and process so you can copy it, tweak it, and use it for your own trips. We are using Crew AI for agent creation, bolt.new for custom React frontend, and Python for the backend. I'll walk you through integrating external APIs like Amadeus and GeoAPI. This isn't just a demo, it's a live build you can copy. By the end of this video, you will have a fully functional AI travel agent ready to steal this idea. Let's go. So before we go any further, let's take a step back and basically try to describe what we are trying to build here. So what are we trying to build here? First, we want to collect some sort of input from the user. We are trying to collect budget of the user. We are trying to collect destination. We are trying to collect location. We are trying to collect interest. What else can we collect? So we can collect these important information. Okay, so once a user enters this information, we're gonna first of flights, search for hotels, and then search for activities to do, and then in the end we will tie all of these nicely, and I can draw for shit, but we will tie all of these nicely into some sort of an itinerary. So this is what we are trying to build. So at the end of the day, you should be able to input this and get some sort of a comprehensive itinerary, maybe different versions with your budget that you can pick from. So you're gonna need some sort of a search for flights agent, and then an agent to search for hotels, and then an agent to search for activities, and then a final agent to put everything together and return that information back to the user. The first things I would usually do after something like this, and you can take a screenshot and come over here to Claude. I use Claude for this, and basically I come here and I ask a very simple question. I want to build an app that takes the user's information, including budget, interest, and everything down for them in the form of agents searching for hotels availability and prices, flight availability and prices, itinerary and activities, all while taking budget into consideration. What are some of the technologies that can make this happen? So I asked this specific question, and as you can see here, it gives me a tech stack. Front end, what technologies that I can use? We're going to use Python, okay, on our back end. Next.js on our front end, okay. We are also going to need some sort of AI and ML. We're going to use Crew AI, and I believe Crew AI is built on top of LangChain. That gives us a little bit some extra features and make things a little bit easier. So if you are not familiar with some of these APIs, what you can do is to copy, come to search, and go to the website and try to figure out what the API is about and if it fits your use case. In this case, this looks good. It requires some sort of authentication, and this is an example on how to make the call and then send in the raw data. This is the other alternative for getting price information, and just from reading through this alone, you can be able to tell what they offer and what you can get out of the API. So for hotels API, we are going to use something like booking.com or Expedia, and for activities API, we are either going to use Viator or Get Your Guide. Before you jump into using it, make sure that the documentation is clear, it looks easy to use. That's what you want to check for. It's straightforward. Okay, some documentations require you to jump a few hoops to understand what is going on. Let's move on to the next step, which is actually building and writing some code, hopefully using AI, of course. So what we are going to use is Kesa AI. Kesa is a VS Code version that has AI integration built inside of it. If you have Kesa downloaded, you get something like this, and you can go to kesa.com and find out all the information you need and how to download this. Simple, straightforward. So I have Kesa open. I have it in a completely new folder, Trippy, which is what we are going to name our app for now. The first thing we want to do is we want to set up our backend, and we can start from our front end, but I just want to start from our backend and just set up a basic Crew AI with some sort of basic agent, build the front end, come back to it, and build the rest out. And to do that, just come to your browser, go to Google, type Crew AI, and you should land on a page that looks like this. So this is Crew AI that allows you to basically build agents. And this is the reason we are using Python. You could use Node.js for your backend, but I like to use Python because it's the closest language to AI as we have now. So there's a lot of built-in tools just for communicating with a lot of LLMs, and Crew AI is one of them. It's one of the most powerful AI building agents out there. So this is what we want to use to build out our agents. So when you come here, you want to look for the documentation for Crew AI, and to get access to the documentation, you just need to do one thing: log in first. So just click login. So once you're logged in and sign up and you come to this page, you have access to their documentation. Okay, after you click on the documentation and land here, come to installation, and installation gives you a guide on how you can install Crew AI. The first step is, if you want to install it into an already existing application, this is the guide to be able to do that. But we want to create a new Crew AI project, and it would give us a complete folder structure that we can build on top of. So to do that, we are going to copy this, come over here, open up your terminal, paste what you copied right here. So I'm going to name this back end because this is the folder that is going to contain our backend logic. So I'm just going to enter, and it's going to go ahead and do its thing. All right, so once you run the command, you get this folder structure. So if you expand them a little bit, inside of your config folder, source/backend/config, we have our agents file right here, and already we have two agents: reporting, analyst, and researcher, which we are going to modify in a bit. But inside of our task.yaml, we have two tasks: research task and reporting task, that you can give to your agents to perform their task. And there's also custom tools that you can provide to your agents, and this is where we'll be creating any custom tools that we will need. Things like searching Google, searching, making booking.com API requests, those sort of like external API requests. They are best to use tools that would make the API call and provide them to your agent to basically make that additional API call, get that data, and make that decision based off of that information. So Crew.py is where we are going to tie everything together. We're going to import everything from our agents.yaml and our config.yaml. We're going to import them here, and this is where we use them, tie them, connect them to any tools that needs to be connected, and Crew to send everything to Crew AI to handle. Main.py is where we are making the call. Okay, let's go to the README. So going to README, it tells you what you need to do. So to ensure that this runs properly, you need Python 3.1 to 3.13 installed in your system. And the way to find out what version of Python you are on is to do a Python -- version. Okay, and it's not going to work because I'm using Python 3. So either try that or do a Python 3 -- version, and right here it tells me I'm on version 3.12. so we are within the range. So just make sure, and if you're not within this range, just try to upgrade to a later version of Python. The next step is to do a pip install poetry. So we're gonna do a pip install poetry, and it might not get recognized because you might have pip 3 installed into your system. So if it doesn't work, use a pip 3. I know Python version 3, you got to append the 3 before it works. So now we want to log the dependencies before we install them. So run this command and then run poetry install, and it's just going to install everything here nicely into our environment for us. What we want to do now is we want to add this to chat and basically tell it to turn this to an API. Turn this into an API and a server, and as you can see, it obliges, but it calls it kickoff. We don't want to call it kickoff, but we'll see. We might change this later. And it's using fast API, so it's using Pydantic, which this is going to be modified soon. Pydantic is basically for a schema, just to validate the data input that will be coming in from the front end, and it's using the kickoff endpoint, and it's going to be on port 8000. So what we can do is now we can run our backend, and as you can see now, our backend is running on port 8000. So we have a server now, and when we make a request to kickoff, it would basically hit this the server right here. So what is the next step? The next step is we want to set up a Next.js application. If you already went through the first step, which is go to ChatGPT or Claude, ask it this. The next thing you can do is to ask it to create you a prompt that you can provide to Fragments or V0. Okay, it gave me something like this. Okay, guys, just to see which AI tool is the best out there so far, I went ahead and provided the same prompt, this exact same prompt to bolt.new. Okay, provided it to V0. Okay, also provided the same prompt to Fragments.e2b. Fragments gave me the code. It looks good. Okay, it ran into errors and couldn't fix its own errors. All right, V0 went ahead and provided me the code as well, and I'm sure if I copy this code and paste it, it's going to work. But I need to see what I'm copying first, which wasn't able to handle the prompt properly. Okay, now look at what bolt.new did. Okay, took the prompt, was able to make something out of it. Okay, we have our destination. It's not the prettiest. Okay, it's something to work off of. Okay, so in order to use this, what we can do now is to open this and stack blitz. Okay, so when you open it up, this is not as fancy as what do you call it, VS Code, where we can install this into our existing application through the CLI. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some manual work here. So we can either fork it to our GitHub, or we can download a project, or we can create a new repository. But I'm gonna download the project. And once you have the project open, just make sure you unzip it, copy the entire project, or you can cut it, but copy the entire project. Come over, open up where you set up this project. Okay, just open up the folder, come here and paste it right here, and we will go back to our project. And you do realize we do now have our project here, so I'm just going to rename this front end. Okay, and if I open this up, you can see we have our source folder, we have our components, we have everything that we need. So just fire up your terminal, make sure you're in the right folder, so do an ls, it will tell you what is in your directory, and this time we're going to cd into our front end. So what I can do is to do a yarn, but if you don't have yarn, just do npm install, and this should work as well. So I'm going to use yarn, and that is just going to install all of our dependencies on the front end. And once it's done, you can do a yarn run dev. If you do not have yarn installed, do an npm run dev. Okay, so, and it's just gonna spin up our front end. Right now it's running on 5173 localhost. So I'm just gonna copy this, go to the nearest browser, and just open it up, and you can see that we have the exact same thing we got from Bolt. So we are doing great, guys. So the next step we want to take is just inspect our files, just our front end files. We want to see what is going on. And as you can see in the main.tsx basic React setup, what we also want to look for is within the source front end source folder, you should find an app.tsx. This is where everything is tied together. Everything within our application is put together here. This is the entry point to our application. So you want to click on this, and here we have the user form, the results display. So we have the user form. The user form is basically this part, and then the display is this part. So we have the user form and results display. What we are looking for is the user form. So what you can do is to click on your keyboard command. It might be control on Windows, but on your Mac, just click command and it should give you the ability to click on this folder. We want to go to it, and over here you can see that. So these are the interest lists. We can add up on top of this. We can remove. We have the budget state that allows you to basically set your budget, and you can see the budget is up to $10,000 or $100. $10,000 or $100. So that looks good. And over here you can see this is the form. We have the label, destination, and the input that takes our destination information, that takes calendar information. We have the calendar that takes the end date calendar information. We have this input right here. That is the type range that is responsible for setting our budget. And you can see here set budget is being used here to basically set a budget in our state. And over here we have a number of travelers, and then over here we are capturing the interest, accommodation preference, transportation preference, and this is where any additional notes, and then generate itinerary button. This looks good so far. We can highlight all of this, add to chat, and we are gonna prompt this and say connect this to our backend, and do an @ sign, and that allows you to connect additional files. And this instance we want to reference our main.py file inside of our backend /source/backend main.py. So I'm just gonna click on this and hit enter. It's gonna try to connect it. So it has first given us the front end code, and you have to be extra careful. So it says everything else remains the same, and I'm using the free version of Cursor, by the way. If you are not on the free version of Cursor, you can easily just apply, and it will apply the changes to your current folder. I don't want to pay $20 just for that feature, so because of that, I'm copying and pasting the code that it provides me into my code base. And doing it this way allows you to be sharper as well, right? So you don't completely rely on AI to do everything. AI can make mistakes as well. Just copying this and doing it yourself manually allows you to pay attention to what you are doing. So this way you are keeping yourself a lot more sharper. All right, so just keep that in mind. So I'm copying this all the way to this point. I'm copying it all the way to this point and replacing that part of the code. So I'm copying all the way to this point. And then here at the bottom, I want to copy this part where it says form. This is where it basically connects the handle submit to the form. So I want to replace this with that, and that connects handle submit to this. And it made a mistake here. It gave us a code for handling change and handling checkbox, taking care of checkbox, but it never gave us a code down here. It just says the rest of the fields remain the same, but handle change is never connected to the form. So handle change is where we want to tie this handle change to all our input fields, so that when you type on it, it is able to populate this form right here. So that is what this is supposed to do, but it didn't give us the entire code. So what we can do is we can manually do this, and every input, just look for every input. So we don't want this range input. So what I'm going to do is this first input, I'm going to say on handle change. All right, so this is what you want to do on change, and then we call the handle change method. So I'm going to copy this and repeat this for every input field. Here and here we want to set form data. We want to call this from the form data that budget. So this is coming from form data that budget. All right, and we will tackle the error later. So here on the number of travelers, we also want capture the unchanged. So interest, we're using input here. This is where we use the checkbox. So we're gonna do unchanged and then summon the handle checkbox. The same for here. This is what input type radio. Do we have a separate function for radio? So we would repeat the same thing here as well. So change this to handle checkbox. And transportation, same thing, handle text area. All right, this is where additional notes, we want to also capture the change events going on. So we can test this. All right, so we can test this, but it looks like we have an error. All right, so it looks like the error says import from Axios. Does the file exist? So we need to install Axios into our project. I don't think we have Axios installed. So if you go all the way to the top, we are importing Axios from Axios and we don't have it installed in our project. So how you install the package is okay, so now that we're in the right place, we can do yarn add Axios. If you are on npm, you can do npm install Axios, but I'm using yarn right now, so I'm just gonna do add Axios. So this should install Axios and this error should go away. All right, so we want to figure out a way to test if this is working. So I can come down here and do a console log. We just want to do this console log and then put form data in brackets. And then once you come here, open up console. All right, and you should already have some basic form being displayed here with the default data. We just want to make sure everything's being captured. So the destination, we're gonna say real, I'm gonna say Madrid, and you can already see something is happening in our form. All right, so you can already see destination Madrid is being captured in our form. And if I change date, let's say from the 18th to the 31st, you can already tell our form data is being updated. So end date is 2024 10/31. Start date, when we change the range up, all right, it looks like there's an issue with that. We'll fix that soon. So we can update the number of travelers, and you can see the number of travelers 4 is being recorded. We can, looks like interest is failing. All right, budget, so can we select budget? Accommodation, what happens when it's mid-range on? So this doesn't look to be working properly. We'll fix that. All right, so checkboxes are not working. There's additional work. This is an additional note. So you can see additional notes work. So what I can do is I can copy this error, go back to cursor and just provide it with an error, and let's see what cursor does. All right, and if you read based on the error, it looks like you're encountering type error when trying to destructure ID property either target. So it says make sure you are passing handle input change, and I believe this handle input change, I believe the issue itself was, I think the issue was with the range. So this is where it's having an issue. So what I can do is to add to chat here and tell it to implement to form data. All right, so this looks good right here, so I'm just gonna copy this. So we're gonna replace that with that, and inside of our form, all right, I think everything else remains the same inside of our, and as you can see, the error goes away. So now if we go to our browser, you can see it's working as expected. So the budget is being set, as you can see, 3,200 is being set right here. So I think the next issue we were having is the checkboxes. So we can do the exact same thing, copy the error and go back to cursor and just provide error, and let's just see what it says. All right, so based on the error and stack rate, it appears you're encountering an issue with the handle checkbox function. So interest transportation, that is correct. Check if the property exists before operating on it. So I'm just gonna copy this and go all the way up to where we are implementing handle checkboxes and paste. Okay, I think that's it. We can remove this. We don't need that anymore. All right, so looks good. As you can see, guys, checkboxes are working as expected, and it's only saying on. So we have an issue. So let's see what it's doing here. Name, checked, and value. So the end result should look something like what are the interests? Adventure, true. Culture, true. All right, so I'm gonna copy this new code and then handle check, replace, and make sure, and you're gonna copy all of this. Hit this, come over here where we have interest, or you can search right here, interest, where we are mapping over interest. We want to replace this entire part of the code. All right, and now when we select these and go here, you can food and drink true. What happens if I uncheck? Just say false. Okay, and we want to make sure we do the same thing for the rest of accommodation properly. So we can copy that, and what we want to do is replace that, and also make sure that we copy the handle change. And so I just need to replace that, and now we can test this. So budget, all right, budget. So you can see accommodation, luxury, and it's gonna record luxury. So we're doing good here. All right, so flight, train, what was it, preference, transportation. Okay, so it looks like transportation preference is not is the only thing that isn't getting implemented properly. So we can easily fix this. Interest checkboxes should work exactly the same as transportation checkboxes. So for some reason, these are both take the same input. They basically take a number of values. As you can see, if you go all the way up here, you have interest, which is just an array of values, and you have transportation, which is the exact same thing, and accommodation. All of these things should work the exact. Actually, accommodation is radio button, but these two should work the exact same way. But for some reason, it's trying to handle them as separate things, so it's causing a lot of issues for me. So I'm gonna give the solution a try. All right, and all right, so as you can see now, we are getting all of the information that we need: budget, mid-range, destination, and the interest. What we can do now is to close our front end for a bit, go to our back end, and go into your source folder, go to your main. All right, and over here we can add this to chat and tell it to, we can actually copy up to this point and say modify this to accept data coming from front end. This is where data is coming from, and structure, and then just reference the file. Let's see what it does. All right, so this looks good. I'm gonna copy this and replace this entire. So it's expecting, already making sure course is being handled, and also using the Python trick model to make sure the data coming in is clean, and kickoff is requesting a kickoff. And this looks good. We can go back to our front end and just make sure. So it did get an endpoint correctly. So we can go ahead and test this now. We just got to make sure our front end is running and our back end is running. So now what we can do is to come to our front end, make sure your networks tab is open so we see what is going on when we make a network request, and hit generate and kick off. So it looks like cross origin. If you inspect our front end, you can see that we run on localhost 5173. So make sure these match, or else you are gonna run into issues like I did. So just rerun your server, come to the front end, and let's make the request again. And this time we'll be able to go through successfully without cause issues. It's just a different error we need to deal with. So unprocessable entity is the error we are getting. That means that the input coming in here is something is not right. So what I can do is to come here. It says missing body topic. So it looks like it's expecting something, but something else is being provided. So I can provide this with this error, copy this error as well, provide it, and just reference all of our files. I'm going to reference this and reference the main, the py file. Let's just see what it does. So it says handle submit topic and then trip data. Option 2 is to modify the backend to accept data structure the data structure you're sending. So trip data. So it looks like the front end is trying to send this form data, and it's asking us to either add topic here, or modify our endpoint to. So I'm just gonna do that. So modify our endpoint to the trip data. That looks good to me. So it looks like there's a mix up somewhere. So I'm gonna remove this. That might be causing us some errors. The next step, guys, is to come to Open AI console. So just type Open AI console, click on this first link right here. Once you click on it, make sure you logged in, and once you logged in, come over here to dashboard, and once you click on dashboard, come over here to API keys. All right, and you should be able to set up a new API key. So create a new API key, and we're just gonna name this Trippy, and copy your API key, come to your .env file. So right here in your backend, there should be a .env file. Come here, and what you want to do is to replace this with the API key provided. So paste your API key here, and that should connect us to OpenAI. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go back to our Claude, and we want to set up our agents, and we want to come to where it says AI agents. Okay, I want to copy this and come here and tell Claude to give me technical specification for these agents that I can provide a software developer to build. These are my agents. Okay, and I'm just gonna paste that here. Multiple agents. These are my agents: flight research, hotel search, activity planning, and the last one is itinerary expert. And I'm just going to provide a few information. Gives a few itineraries based on budget, and then maybe provide API integration right here. So let's see. It has given us some really good technical specifications. So what I want to do is I want to copy this from our agents.yaml file, go back to Claude, and ask it to, using these examples, create the agents in similar format. All right, so we have our flight research agent. I'm just gonna copy it and paste it here. All right, copy the hotel search agent, and then we have our activity planning agent, and then the itinerary expert. So I'm gonna paste this right here, activity planner, and then the last agent. And we will repeat the same thing for tasks as well. So just gonna go back. All right, so I'm gonna copy this, come back to our code, make sure you're in the task.yaml file, delete everything in there, and then paste. And just make sure you remove these YAMLs, just remove them. All right, remove that, we don't need that. And I'm gonna say 10 options. We need 10 flights, okay? And then out of the 10 flights, we're gonna pick maybe 3 based on our budget. Now, what we need to do is we have our agents, we have our tasks, okay? We want to set up some sort of tools, okay? And over here in the custom tool, what I can do is what we wanna do, we wanna set up a tool. First, we wanna set up a tool. We want to set up a tool that searches flights, okay? And for this, I want to use Amadeus. Might be butchering this name, but this API right here is called Amadeus, okay? So you want to come here, okay? Self-service API, okay? And want to select the self-service APIs, okay? And then here, we want to copy this documentation, okay? So copy that. Come over here and open a new chat, okay? And over here, I'm gonna say, help me set up a new tool to search for flights, okay, using the following documentation. And I could go on the docs here and try to search for, okay, so it looks like it's not there, so I'm just gonna manually provide the documentation, okay, and let's go. So it says first we need to install Amadeus, so I'm gonna copy this, come to our backend, okay, make sure you in your backend terminal, okay. So if I ls right now, you can see I'm in this folder right here, okay, backend, okay. So I'm gonna do a pip install and pip3, not pip, okay, pip3 install Amadeus, okay, and that is gonna install that. Second, what we want to do is we want to set up authentication, okay. So I'm gonna copy that, it did not finish, and highlight this and say turn this into, okay, to the Amadeus tool, okay, and paste the code it provided us earlier, okay, and enter, and it's just gonna create a tool, okay. So it has created a tool, and I'm gonna replace this entire tool file with it, okay. So what did it do here? We need client and client secret, okay. So we need a client and client secret, okay. So just go back here, and step 1 where it says get your API key, we want to register, okay. First you want to register, okay. So let's create an account. All right, so just make sure you are logged in, and if you're not logged in, make sure you sign up, okay. Just make sure you sign up and log in, and once you do, okay, once you log in, click on your name, come to my self-service workspace, okay, and here you can create a new app that provides you an API key, okay. So I'm gonna create a new app, and the name of the app is Trippy, okay. Just give it a name, okay, and let's create, okay. Once you create, you get an API key and an API secret, okay. Just copy them, and then you can come here and paste them here, okay, and you can ask AI to turn this into environment variables, okay. All right, so make sure you follow the instructions, and you should have something like this. So I'm gonna say I want to use Amadeus for getting hotels availability and pricing. Instead, use the following documentation when creating this API tool, okay. So just gonna paste, okay, the instructions I got earlier, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have something. Just gonna copy this, and we're going to replace this with what we got. So now we have 2 tools built, right? The first tool is to search flights, okay. The second tool is to search hotels, okay. The third tool we want to build is to basically look for activities within the destination area. After doing some research and trials and error, I got this, okay. So places, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for points of interest, okay, by categories, okay. We can click on see all, and it's gonna take us here, okay, places API. Okay, so this is what we are looking for, the places API, okay. So I'm just gonna go to the docs, and I'm just gonna copy this entire, okay, copy this entire thing, come over to come back to our code, okay, and just go to a new chat, and we're gonna say help me implement a new tool that searches for points of interest in a location, okay. Here is some documentation to set it up, okay, and we're just gonna provide it with the documentation we got, and now we wait. So we get a Jopify code back. So I'm just gonna add these to our imports. All right. So I'm gonna copy the rest of the code. Okay. Come down here and paste that. Okay. And that looks good. I'm gonna save that. And we need to install this. So I'm gonna paste that here. Pip3. So enter. And so I'm just gonna ask her to set it up using the API URL. Okay, so it looks like this won't work. So we can, use the API URL. Okay. And of course, it didn't get it right. So I'm just gonna highlight this and say the API URL here. All right. So what we can do now is to replace this with request. Okay. And I'm gonna copy this. All right, I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna replace that. Okay, and we need to do a couple of things. Okay, first of all, we need to find the API key. All right, the way you set up the API key is to come here all the way to the top, get API key. Okay, click on it. And then create a project. I'm just gonna name our project Trippy. Okay, and click OK. Okay, make sure you set up your API key and your environment variable. I'm just gonna repeat the same thing, environ.get. Okay, so over here you can say environ .get. Okay, and this is what I named my API key, so just make sure it matches. And assign it to sell the API key. Okay, so we should have access to that API key when we're making a request here now. Okay, so we have our 3 tools now, so we can move on to the next step, which is basically bringing them all in here and tying everything together. Okay, so what I can do is I can send this part to chat and say, can you connect the agents and tasks tools we just set up here, replacing what is already there but using as an example. Okay, and I'm just gonna reference our conf. I'm just gonna reference tags.yaml and custom tools. Okay. All right, so looks good. I can copy that entire thing and we can replace this code with that. Okay, so it's sequential, solve the agents. Okay, itinerary task. Okay, activity planning task. Okay, hotel task. Okay, flight search, itinerary, activity planning agent. Okay, and it's using the Jopify places. Hotel search is using their module. Okay, Amadu's flight search tool is also being used by the flight search. Okay, and so far it looks good, so I'm just gonna save. Okay, and yeah, we can go back to the main.py and just inspect a few things. So this is where we are calling crew. Okay, backend crew. Okay, which is what we have here. Okay, so it matches crew, and then we are kicking things off and passing inputs, and we're just passing the data we are getting from the front end. So hopefully things should work. If this is correct, we should be getting some sort of data back. Okay, so it's now time to go back to our front end, and I have it filled out. Okay, and I'm just gonna hit generate itinerary. Okay, and it looks like it went through payload, preview, destination. Okay, something is still something that's not right. Okay, so I'm just gonna restart our server. All right, so it's probably a good idea to restart our server, and we are having issues already. So I'm just gonna debug with AI, see where we might be having issues, and it looks like we might be having some sort of import, might be having problems with import. So it's giving us a solution. So in crew we should import. Okay, so here should be this, okay? And in main, that py file, we should be importing backend crew like this, okay? Okay, so finally let's attempt to run this, and it says let's try this. Okay, we need a system as well. We need these two imports. So okay, now let's try this again. Okay, so it's asking us to make sure there is this. Okay, so 3p backend. Okay, so new file, and we need to okay. All right, so let's try this time. It still says we need this. Okay, place that at top. All right, so let's do that. And if it doesn't work, suggesting to try this. So that did not work, so let's try this. I think this should be from crew. Okay, and there we go, guys. So it should be coming from crew, which is right next to main. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the request, and we have a 500 error. Okay, so let's inspect that. So I'm gonna copy the error. So I asked Cloud for help by copying this tool and pasting it in the error, and hopefully it was able to error handle that correctly. So it looks like we are good. I just restarted. I did a few things different here. So this work, we might have to use the same approach here as well, because I have a feeling this might not work. So let's try this. Now we can go to our app and make the request again, and let's see what's the error. Okay, hopefully we are getting a different error from a different tool this time. Okay, maybe the same tool. Let's see. Yeah, it's the same tool. So I run into an issue where modules fly search tool just wouldn't work. Okay, I don't know, for some reason we're doing it wrong. Sometimes these LLMs are a little bit outdated, and when you give it a set of instructions, that is why it's beneficial to go to the documentation, provide and copy the entire documentation. Okay, like I'm doing here. I'm basically providing the entire documentation for Amadeus, okay, including examples and what the results should look like. Okay, and I'm giving it a clause specifically to go through and set this tool up correctly. So what I can do is, please documentation, make sure we are setting up correctly. Okay, one thing I realized about Cursor is it's gonna insist on doing things its way based on what it's been trained on. So, and might not necessarily use the latest information out there. So this is where you need to be able to guide it a little bit to do what you want by going specifically to the documentation and grabbing the piece of information that is relevant to set it up and providing it to Claude and asking it to look through the documentation, read it, and make sure all of these things are fixed. Okay, so over here it's using the API, instead of using the Amadeus line and making a post request. Okay, so let's try this. So this time around, I read the documentation, saw the examples that were being used, and would correctly reconstruct it for our use case. Okay, so looks like we are getting some error. We want to know what error it is, so I'm just gonna, and let's see, some sort of API. Right, so I think we need to provide some sort of origin, okay, and price, max price. Okay, that may be the reason or may not be the reason our tool is failing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna at main.py, okay, and price. So I'm just asking it to make sure when we are calling this tool, which is being called from here. We just want to make sure the agent, okay, so it's giving us some really good suggestions. Okay, so inside of our main.py, all right, we're gonna add this piece of code. Okay, so right underneath here, I'm just gonna add a max price. Okay, and here actually I'm just gonna copy this entire part of the code and replace this. Okay, replace this with okay, it's passing in a max price, okay, that it would need. All right, now in the custom tool, you can copy this. Alright guys, so it's now time to test the application. Okay, so I'm gonna click hit generate and few seconds. Okay, looks like we are good. It's probably making the request. So I'm gonna go to the terminal here and let's see what is going on. And look at that, that's a ton of information. Okay, you're a flight specialist, years of experience. Okay, look at that budget. What is your estimated trip, accommodation and activities? Look at that. Okay, let's see the final. There's no final results yet. Okay, makes the request. Okay, travel days June 15 to June 25. Okay, so it's able to estimate flights and how much that is going to cost, but it's not able to provide any flight details like we expected to. And there's a couple of things. First of all, in our main file, I added this origin city from New York City. Okay, we would want to add that here, but we forgot to basically add that. All right, but just for testing purposes, I assigned that to our trip info, that basically modifying from trip data that we are getting. If you come to agents.yaml file, we are making sure that we are referencing these values that we are passing: end date, some things like end date, travelers, okay, which is data we passing from trip data. Okay, so also passing in interest, accommodation, transportation. Okay, these are that we are grabbing from the input and basically passing it into the agent's task. Okay, so I'm just gonna build out the daily itinerary portion. Okay, and basically in subsequent videos we will figure out how to integrate some sort of structured output, that we are getting, so we can correctly map this correctly and even provide some sort of map interactivity. Okay, including cost breakdown and also some sort of flight details in the section, accommodation details in the section, activities section. But for today, I'm just going to integrate daily planner. Let's go back to our application. Let's go to the front end. Okay, to the solver, to components. What we're looking for is the results display. Okay, so what we want to do is overview. Okay, we have okay, and what we want to do is we want to duplicate something like this. Okay, and say if active tab is itinerary. Okay, so this tab is itinerary. Let's make sure this is correct. Okay, if active tab is itinerary. Okay, and if we go back to user form, this is where we are making the kickoff request, and at this point we are just basically console logging this. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to store this in some sort of external state, okay, that we can consume here. Okay, so what I can do here is to create another state, and we're just gonna call this results. Okay, and set results. All right, over here we can say set results. Okay, and can pass our results. It's complaining because it's not expecting these values. So what we can do is to go here and accept these values. Okay, so and we can set our results here. Okay, and fix that. You can basically let AI say fix with AI. And that didn't fix it. Okay, we're not using these, so we can move them. Okay, we're able to do that, and I think we have. And for results, this is where we can expect results. Okay, and come here, do results. That's up. Okay, so it's that result. All right. Okay, so this is actually a string. So we are setting. Make sure you set up an OpenAI model in your .env file, and make sure you're setting this value. Okay, actually this is a fallback in case it doesn't edit in a .env. Use this. Okay, so an LLM model to each of the agents. Okay, this makes sure it's using this model, else it's going to use ChatGPT-4, and ChatGPT-4 is a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind. So this time I'm gonna say Barcelona. Okay, let's make it easy for it to find something in our budget. Okay, so we say May 2025. Okay, to set May to 28th May. Our budget is 3,200. Okay, 2 people, adventurous, nightlife. Okay, budget. Okay, flight trash. Now, all right. These should be LLM. Okay. Let's update these as possible. Okay, make sure you enter OpenAI from LangChain. Okay, and we're just passing the LLM. Let me restart the server. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, this shouldn't be strings. Okay, so let's fix. Okay, shouldn't be, because we're trying to pass this variable. Okay, to it. So as you can see, it's making a request from JFK, which is the hard-coded origin we provided earlier. Okay, and destination is BCN, which is it was able to deduce correctly from the information we gave it. Barcelona BCN, so got the city code. Okay, and JFK a code as well. But it looks like there was an issue making a request for one authorized. Okay, so there's options flights this time around. Okay, all right, and I'm looking for hotels. Okay, and it correctly cut budget based off of the budget we gave it. All right, it looks like something failed here. It wasn't able to communicate. Okay, so now it's for activities around Barcelona. Okay, and it looks like it had trouble finding coordinates. It's gonna retry that again. I was able to find hotels, 10 hotels. As you can see, it picked up the correct dates, the number of travelers, okay, and the budget. As you can see, guys, it was able to make its final analysis. Okay, travelers to total budget. Okay, on those dates. Okay, recommendation: hotel, jazz per night, activities. Okay, dinner, day 2. As you guys, you get a point. Let's go to our front end, and you can see now we have results, but it wasn't able to format that information properly. Okay, this is where we need to possibly install some sort of markdown. Okay, so what we can do, guys, after using the markdown package, okay, after installing markdown and wrapping our results inside of the markdown, you do get something like this. It's not the best of the best. It could be formatted a lot more, but this is a lot more readable. Okay, I don't know how accurate these flight suggestions are, but we can look this up and see if this is a real place. Okay, so I can do a Google search. Okay, and see what we get. Hotel Jazz. Okay, and it's actually a real place, guys. Hotel Jazz, Barcelona. Okay, as you can see, guys, this is a real place, Hotel Jazz. So it is actually getting us accurate data and information. Okay, and you can see options probably per night is 150, and what was the suggestion provided cost 250 per night, so maybe a little bit high here. And sometimes prices on Google this time might be a little bit jacked, so just keep that in mind. Or possibly wasn't able to find the information, so it made us up. So this is where you can fine-tune these things a little bit. Okay, and you can see activities. Okay, there's Montserrat hiking. Okay, full day cost. We can look that and see if this is accurate information. So I can, and you can right here, Montserrat Parking Tour is actually a real place, guys, and is located where? Okay, Barcelona. Okay, so far I'm impressed. Like, we just need to format this data a little bit, and next time we are going to be improving upon this app. Okay, we are going to structure the data, make sure we extract the flight information and display this properly, have some sort of interactive map, okay, and some sort of overview that tells us flight data information. Okay, so we're going to be extracting this information that is coming from our agents, just structure a little bit so we can display it nicely on the front end. So that is it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, I appreciate you for watching till this end. Okay, you can do me a favor and hit a like button. It goes a long way for support. This is free. I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm teaching as well. So we are all learning together. Okay, so show that you are getting value out of this just as much as I am by hitting the like button. Okay, and if you are not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's make this place to learn. Okay, this is all about automation and continuous learning. Okay, so this is, guys, I'll upload onto GitHub, and we will improve upon this later. I'll show you how you can clone the repo and improve upon it, or even fork it if you want to, and do what you wish to with it. Okay, you can turn it to a service, build this out. Okay, put some more work into it. Okay, that is the point of all this, and if you're able to do that, then you're learning a lot. Okay, so this is, guys, till the next time. Peace.